So in the last video we looked at the principles of justice, that yes, there are laws and rules and everybody should know both of those. Then the judges are not to be prejudiced. They must not have a liking for one party or the other, and they must not prejudge the situation before hearing both sides. Does Watchtower's judicial system match up to these principles of justice? Absolutely not. First of all, yes, they have laws, which they claim come from the scriptures. Then they have rules, but nobody knows the rules. These rules are kept secret and only the judges know the rules. That's extraordinarily prejudicial. Then the elders or the judges will get together in their little back rooms, and if maybe they have two witnesses or what they think is a good case against somebody, they will decide before talking to the accused person whether that person is guilty or not. So they invite, or rather they command, that person to come to a judicial hearing. Now the person who's called doesn't know what they're accused of, because the judges are told to tell the person only in broad terms as to what they are accused of. So this accused person thinks if he goes to the judicial hearing, he will find out what he's accused of and he will be allowed to defend himself. That's not the case. He is already guilty. It's too late. So he goes along and finds out that he's guilty, so he appeals. But what he doesn't know is that the judges in this case will discuss the case in secret with the appeal judges, and therefore the appeal judges are now prejudiced before they've even met the accused person. So I have heard from several people that if you appeal, it is considered that you're not repentant, so that goes against you as well. Now the elders might say to you, look, we have two witnesses against you. Well, this means that Watchtower has no idea of the principles behind the two-witness rule, and Jesus explains it very well in John chapter 8, where he says this, verse 17, "In your law it is written that the testimony of two persons is reliable and valid." Yes, fair enough. Jesus said, "I am one bearing testimony concerning myself, and my Father who sent me, he also testifies about me." Jesus was a witness that he was the Son of God, and his Father was also bearing witness. But how? Because God can't come down here as an eyewitness and say to the judges, "This is my Son." So Jesus explains in chapter 10 and verse 25, "The very works that I do by the power of my Father and in my Father's name bear witness concerning me." So you have a witness in the case of Jesus Christ, and then you have evidence as far as his works are concerned. The evidence was overwhelming that Jesus was the Son of God, but the judges in those days preferred not to accept the evidence, which is what Watchtower does today. Also, we need to look at the situation as it mentioned in Deuteronomy chapter 19. And it's in verses 16 to 19. It says, "If a false witness rises up against any man to accuse him of wrongdoing, then both parties have to come before the judges." And in verse 18, "The judges shall inquire diligently, and if the witness is a false witness and has accused his brother falsely, then you do to him what he wanted to do to his brother." Watchtower doesn't do that. If they have two witnesses, that's the end of the matter. But the Bible says you've got to check what the witnesses say. And in order to do that, you have to go to the accused person and say, "Look, we have two witnesses that are saying this, that and the other about you. What do you say? And it might turn out that these witnesses are either badly mistaken or they're deliberately trying to get you into trouble. That's why you have to investigate. But Watchtower says, no, you don't have to investigate. If you've got two witnesses, that's it. They don't understand the beauty of the evidence and the two-witness rule. They don't examine the scriptures properly. Now, this situation is very dire for Watchtower, because in the book of Amos, if I can find it a moment, and it's in Amos chapter 6, and this is God speaking about the Israelites. In verse 12, he says, "You have turned justice into the poison of gall, and the fruit of righteousness into the bitterness of wormwood." And the result in verse 19 says, "I will raise up against you a nation," which is what God did, and they were abandoned to the Babylonians. Watchtower, if you continue in this dire injustice, you cannot escape a bad judgment by God. You are accountable for not understanding the scriptures properly and for developing your own bad judicial system in defiance of both biblical and modern judicial procedures. So, Watchtower, please take notice of this, and I'll leave you in God's good hands, and I hope that you'll listen and change. Thank you for watching.